Football's a beautiful sport, but playing good football requires a certain way of thinking about the sport. And we can learn that thinking process by watching players at the highest level. Where do they position themselves? Why do they make the decisions that they do? What do they think about throughout the match? How do they decide whether to move here or to go there? And for this, we'll look at the Community Shield match between Arsenal and Man City. Why this one? Because it was an amazing tactical battle and it almost played out like a match of chess. But more than that, what's better than to learn from two of the best teams in the world? So let's go. The match starts by Kai playing the ball back to Ramsdale. It's pre-planned that Ramsdale will play an overhead ball forward and Arsenal will try to win it high up the pitch. They all move to crowd that area. Ramsdale sets the ball with the sole of his foot, looks up and boots it. Haaland and Alvarez had run forward to press. Now that the ball's been launched over their heads, they drop to get compact. City, however, was expecting this. Look at how close their defense and midfield lines are. Kai looks up at the ball and gets ready to receive it. Rodri, however, makes a critical scan. He's going in for the challenge and knows that he's going to bump into Kai. He goes in, shoulder first. Now this does two things for him. It protects his ribs and applies more power to push Kai out. He throws Kai off balance, but Kai recovers quickly and tries to get to it again. But again, a second push from Rodri makes him miss the ball completely. Alvarez sees the space and drops there to come close to action. The ball bounces and comes to Walker, and he heads it forward with a superb jump. Just look at how high he is. His hips are almost level with Kai's shoulders. The ball's coming his way and Alvarez makes a dash for it. Partey makes a critical scan and notices Alvarez. He knows he must block his run. Odegaard, however, has not noticed Alvarez. He's telling Partey that he has space to receive it. Wrong call. Alvarez tries to get to it, but Thomas Partey's become Gandalf. You shall not pass. He crouches, leans backwards, and uses his arms to hold Alvarez back. However, Alvarez proves to be more agile than expected. He jumps from behind Partey, heads it, chases it, and clears it forward. He doesn't want to take any unnecessary chances in this situation. I mean, the entire Arsenal team is so high up, any mistake here might just give them a chance. Haaland had stayed up. He tries to get to the ball, but it isn't coming close to him. All the players move up. Saliba had seen the ball come towards him and had already made his critical scan. He knows that there's pressure on him from that side and that Gabriel's in space on this side. Gabriel too has read the situation. He's seen that Saliba's under pressure from that side and that he's facing this side. He knows that the ball's coming to him, so he scans to assess his own space and time. Rodri too has read the understanding developing between these two. He sees that Saliba's in pressure from that side and that there's a free man here on this side. He concludes that it's coming to him, so he charges on to try to nick the ball with a blindside tackle. Saliba sends the ball towards Gabriel and quickly calls, "Man on!" Gabriel is alerted by Saliba's call. He scans and notices Rodri. Ball's on the way, so Odegaard uses this moment to scan. It's a bouncy ball, and bouncy balls are difficult to control. So Gabriel immediately kicks it out of danger. He's the last man. He can't take unnecessary risks with it. Both Kai and Kovacic go for the ball, but Kai reaches it first and lays it off in one touch to Partey. Now this is a mistake because he's playing the ball back into a crowded area. A better option for him would have been to lay it off to Saka, who's standing in space on that side. Alvarez notices that the ball's coming towards him and that he's the closest to it. He knows he's blindside and that the ball's a bouncy one, so he charges on. He lunges in with his hips like a tiger attacking from behind and pushes Partey off the ball. Kovacic goes for the loose ball. Rice anticipates that he's likely to emerge with it and that he has space ahead to run into. He knows he must do something about it. Haaland at the moment is standing with his back to the goal. He sees that City has the ball and concludes that it's going to come to him. So he scans quickly to assess his space and time. Rice was right. Kovacic did emerge with the ball, sees the space ahead and tries to carry it forward. Rice knows he can't let him run free like this in midfield. He must close him down quickly. Haaland realizes that instead of using him as a fulcrum, Kovacic is carrying the ball forward himself. So he turns and goes into a half-moon run to attack behind. Rice comes running and barges into Kovacic, thereby breaking his forward run. As a defensive midfielder, it's his duty to stop the attacks before they can develop into dangerous situations. But kudos to Kovacic. He not only withstands the impact from Rice, but also keeps the ball. However, he's been forced to turn inwards. Haaland checks his shoulder and notices him turning in. He had just made a half-moon run there. But now, since Kovacic has turned inwards, he again changes direction to run at a diagonal to him. But both Gabriel and Saliba have him well covered. Notice how they're both standing with sideways profile, ready to run with him. Odegaard's been dropping to provide cover in midfield. He thinks he can win it off Kovacic with a blindside tackle. But Kovacic is quite aware of his intentions. He knows that he's kept the ball long enough and has attracted a lot of pressure on him. In fact, he's 3-on-1 right now. He must release the ball quickly. So he plays to Grealish, who's been giving an option in free space there, and immediately moves opposite to Odegaard's momentum, indicating that he wants to play a 1-2. Haaland and Alvarez think that Grealish is in enough space and time. They both make forward runs expecting a ball in behind. But I'm not sure why they would do that. That's not how City plays. City doesn't like to lose possession by plonking hopeful balls forward. I think Haaland in particular seems too eager to run in behind. Grealish decides to hold the ball, but he's fast coming under pressure from three sides. Rodri raises his hands to ask for the ball. But among other things, note the defensive work being done by Saka. Had he not tracked back, it would have been a 2v2 situation here, and Kovacic and Grealish might have been able to play through it. Grealish intentionally keeps holding the ball. He's inviting Arsenal to come and press him, and just as they get close enough, he plays it out. Kovacic gets the ball and knows that he's in too much pressure with too little a space, so he plays it out quickly with first touch. Walker's all praise for Grealish for the way he held the ball, attracted the pressure and released it before getting burned. Akanji runs to get to the ball, and while the ball's on the way, he scans to look for forward option, but there isn't any because Grealish had moved inwards. He also notices three Arsenal players coming on him. He knows he's the last man and must avoid getting into a 3v1 situation, so he turns back to use his safe back pass option. Partey and Rice realizes that they've both gotten too deep. They start to get back to their positions. Akanji plays to Diaz. Stones drops to provide option on this side. City spreads out to make the field wide. Arsenal press up. Diaz notices that he's coming under pressure. He turns back and uses a safe back pass option and immediately drops to provide option on that side. Ball's on the way, so he scans. And once again, Ortega receives the ball and looks up. Rodri sees him looking his way, and while nothing's happening with the ball, he quickly scans to assess his space and time. Diaz also scans. Ortega's under no pressure. He decides to hold the ball to slow down the match rhythm. Rice sees that Rodri's in the gap and comes up to close him down. He's on a mission to not allow him to turn with the ball. Rodri realizes his presence behind him and checks to assess how close he is on him. He understands that due to Rice's pressure, the ball's not coming to him now. So he scans to read what are Ortega's options on this side and notices that Kai is moving out, vacating that space. He starts hopping there to peel off from his marker. But Rice is determined to follow him closely. Kai curves his press and covers passing lanes to this side. He catches Ortega looking up, away from the ball. He charges on to put pressure on him, hoping to force him into making a mistake. Both Rodri and Kovacic see Ortega's coming under pressure. They are alert to the situation and they drop quickly to give option. The suddenness of their movement builds a moment of separation from their markers. Ortega passes to Rodri. Now wait. In all this action, we've missed something important. Let's go back a few seconds to see some brilliant game reading work done by Kai. Earlier on, when Grealish held the ball, Kai was already thinking where's it going to go next. He sees that the ball's coming to Kovacic, who's standing with his back towards him, so he charges on, hoping to nick the ball with a blindside tackle. But Kovacic plays it out before he can even get there, so he quickly turns to check where is it going. Akanji is running towards the ball, but he's yet to reach it. So he scans to assess his safe back pass option, then looks back at him, catches him looking forward and wonders to himself what's he looking at. Scans to look there and concludes immediately that he really doesn't have an option there. Looks back to Akanji to see what he'll do next. Sees Akanji turn backwards anticipates that he's going to play there and scans quickly to see where's his back pass option. Re-looks at him to confirm his anticipation. Yeah, he is. Where's his option? Looks back at Akanji as he's about to play the ball. As soon as Akanji makes the pass and while the ball's on the way, he scans and sees his teammates pressing up on that side. Looks back to the ball. It's still on the way, so he scans this side to check how's the press here. Notices that though Martinelli is running up, he is still far behind. Realizes that Stones is the free man and is in space. Concludes that he must press him. As the ball's just about to reach Diaz, he looks at him quickly to assess which way is he going to turn. Diaz turns back and takes a big touch, so he scans again and sees Stones dropping. He's beginning to realize that Stones is getting very far away. There may not be much sense in rushing up to press him. Looks back to check if the teammates are still pressing on that side and notices that they have slowed down. Looks to Diaz as he's about to play the ball. Ball's on the way, he scans and notices the movement there. Looks towards Ortega to assess how's he gonna receive the ball. Ortega looks up, so he scans to see what's he looking at, then scans to assess the position of his playing options on this side. Now he's beginning to feel restless. He thinks that Ortega's held the ball for far too long and they must press him now. But he can't just jump up and vacate his position, so he scans to check if they're adequately covered in midfield. Concludes that they are. Starts hopping sideways to cover the passing lanes to this side. Catches Ortega looking away and charges to try to nick the ball off him. Wow, amazing, isn't it? Now back to where we were. Guys pressing Ortega. Both Rodri and Kovacic see that he's coming under pressure. They drop quickly to give an option. Ortega plays to Rodri. Rice charges on to not allow him space to turn with the ball. Rodri's aware of the press from behind. He knows he shouldn't attempt to turn and risk losing the ball. So he plays first touch, the way he's facing, to the free man. Ball on the way, players scan to see where's it gonna go next. Martinelli anticipates that the ball's coming to Walker and moves to close him down. Stones receives the ball and immediately looks up. Rice catches him looking forward and scans to read what's he looking at. Martinelli moves closer to Walker and in doing that, he's opened a passing lane in midfield. Alvarez was in the front. He's seen this space getting created and is dropping to get there. Stones notice him drop. Now it's a fairly long distance to him, so he hits it hard. Ball on the way. Rice scans to see where's it going. And Martinelli realizes his mistake, that he went too wide, leaving gap in midfield. Walker immediately notices that Alvarez is being pressed from behind and that he will need to play fast touch. He sees the space there and moves to provide him an option. Alvarez is also aware of his press and that he can't turn. He's desperately searching for an option to play to in first touch, but can't find any. He receives the ball, not knowing what to do with it next. And it's Partey's press from behind him that's caused all this confusion. Alvarez's first touch is a tad too heavy. Martinelli sees the ball bounce off him and thinks he can win it. But Alvarez recovers the ball and lays off gently to Walker. Now this is technique. He receives a hard pass under pressure, but still made a very controlled layoff to a teammate who is in space, all within just one or two touches of the ball. And it doesn't end there. Immediately after passing, he moves opposite to Martinelli's momentum, signaling to Walker that he wants to play a 1-2. Walker understands the intention and plays it to Alvarez. And this time he moves opposite to Martinelli's momentum, signaling to Alvarez to play a 1-2 again. But Martinelli reads what they're planning and moves to block it. Meanwhile, Gabriel's recovered. He sees that Alvarez is yet to receive the ball and thinks that he has an opportunity to win it with a blindside tackle. He charges aggressively on him. Alvarez understands that the moment to play a 1-2 back to Walker is gone and that he has no pass option. Also, he's under so much pressure from behind that he can't even lift his head up to find one. He must hold and shield the ball. Look at his posture, body low, arms extended and leaning backwards to hold the opponent back. Gabriel realizes that he's putting too much pressure and it's likely to result in a foul. So he raises his hands to show to the ref that he's not pushing. Now wait, we've again missed something really important. Let's go back a few seconds to watch a great example of brilliant match reading and anticipation by Declan Rice. When Walker had played the ball towards Alvarez and while the ball was on the way, he scanned. and realized that Rodri's free. Then he looks towards them and notices that they're both moving that way, leaving behind a passing lane to Rodri, and that Rodri is raising his arms, asking for it. So he moves to block that lane. Brilliant, isn't it? But Alvarez is under such tremendous pressure that he's unable to lift his head up and notice this pass. With no other option, he continues to shield the ball and block Gabriel from getting to it. And then suddenly, a moment appears. Gabriel gets a view of the ball and charges to get to it, using his arm to push Alvarez out. Alvarez senses it and tries to flick the ball to that side and pull a revolving door on him. But Gabriel is like a raging bull. He changes direction and charges on from that side. Now Alvarez is not as strong as Gabriel, but he continues to block him. Notice how he's using his hips to hold him back. Finally, he buckles under pressure and immediately raises his hands to ask for a foul. That's the thing. Whenever you fall in a physical contest, in a one-on-one tussle like this, immediately raise your hands to ask for a foul. See, he hasn't even hit the ground, but his hands are already up in appeal. Ref hasn't blown a whistle yet. Gabriel, having won the ball, sees space ahead and charges on. But Walker's like, this is Sparta! It's his area. He's prepared to go to war to defend his turf. He comes in hard with a shoulder push. Gabriel sees him come and gets ready to withstand the impact. He lowers his body by bending his knees, spreads his feet wide for better stability, and lunges towards Walker to meet the push head on. The replay shows it all with a closer angle. Look at the details in this. Alvarez lunges in with his hips to block Gabriel's line to the ball, extends one arm to hold him back, and uses the other arm for balance. He crouches to lower his center of gravity and plants his foot firmly to push backwards. But the press from Gabriel is too strong, so he jumps to readjust his position. See how he's extended his leg and is going to land heel first because he's leaning backwards. Uses his elbow and fist to hold Gabriel back. Even grabs his shots, swings the other arm widely to keep his balance. The press is still too strong. He hops and readjusts his posture again and starts to plot the revolving door. He shows the ball to Gabriel, inviting him to come to this side, and then pulls off the revolving door with a flick and a spin to the other side. When Gabriel charges to the ball, he continues to use his hips and arms to hold him back, gets hit with an elbow in the back, and thus is unable to hop and readjust his stance, but still continues to block him by using his hips and arms. And as he finally buckles under pressure, he immediately raises his hands to ask for a foul. That's how it's done. As we come back to the game, we see Walker's restarted it by playing it back to Stones. Kai moves up to press, and while the ball's on the way, he scans. He's trying to assess who else is pressing on that side. You see, the entire team has to make a move together. A lone man rushing up to press is quite pointless. He's trying to read how to adjust the direction and intensity of his press. Ball on the way, Rodri also scans to assess the options available to Stones. Kai's seen that he's the lone one pressing. He knows that he's unlikely to win it. So he goes with just enough pressure. Notice the defensive shape of City. The centre backs are above the goalkeeper and the two wing backs are high and wide. Stones turns inwards. Odegaard anticipates that it's gonna come to Diaz. He moves up to press. Ball's on the way. Kai looks up and notices Odegaard rushing up to press and that Rodri is in a lot of space. He knows that he must cover him. Diaz makes a critical scan to assess his forward options and sees Odegaard coming towards him. Notice how Rodri moves to stay in that pocket of space. Odegaard knows that Diaz has received the ball in too much space. He can't win it by tackling him. He hops and adjusts himself to block forward passing options. This hopping and readjusting means that he creates a moment of indecision in Diaz. Unable to find a forward pass option, Diaz turns back to use a safe back pass option. Rodri drops to give an option. Kai sees him turn and expects him to play to Stones. He starts moving to get there. But Diaz notices him and instead of playing a long pass to Stones, he plays a short pass backwards to Ortega. As the ball's on the way, players scan to read where is it gonna go next. And nothing unexpected is likely to happen with the ball at the moment. So Rodri too scans to read Ortega's option. Kai moves to close forward passing lanes on this side. Martinelli too takes a moment to scan quickly. Ortega holds the ball and slows down the rhythm. Arsenal see no point in pressing it because he has several easy pass options. Their press on him simply won't work. On the contrary, pressing up in this scenario will be counterproductive because in jumping to press, they'll end up vacating their positions in midfield and make it easier for City to play through them. Ortega holds the ball on his feet. He's intentionally making Arsenal keep their eyes on him. Rodri uses this moment to peel off from his mark. Ortega is looking up ahead, so Rodri scans to see what he's looking at. Rice realizes that Rodri's moved away from him and is now free. So now he has a decision to make. Should he move towards him to close him down? Or should he stay in his place to cover the midfield passing lanes? He wants to provide cover in midfield first. So he calls out to Kai to mark him. Odegaard's telling Saka to hold there. This is like a stalemate. The one who moves first will reveal his cards and will make it easier for the other to plan their next move. Rodri again sees that nothing's happening, so he scans. Now he knows that the ball's not coming to him. So he turns around to check where's it gonna go then and moves towards central area. Rice sees him. He wants to move there to close him down. But before he vacates his position and moves out, he scans to check if they are covered in midfield or not. Kai scans and sees Rice coming towards Rodri. He's also beginning to feel that they've given enough space to Ortega and that they should press him now. But again, before he vacates his position and rushes out to press, he needs to know if they're well covered in midfield or not. Concludes that they are. And so he starts hopping sideways to block passing option to Walker. Ortega turns to play to Diaz. Odegaard notices this and rushes out to press. Rice realizes that Odegaard's leaving Kovacic free, so he moves to close him down. But then in doing that, he'll be leaving Rodri free. So he calls out to Kai to cover Rodri. Again, Odegaard adjusts the direction of his press to cause a moment of indecision in Diaz. Unable to find a clear forward option, he turns inwards and plays back to safety. Ball on the way, Kai's already anticipating where's it gonna go next. Rodri too is trying to read what's going to happen next. He also notices the space emerging here as Kai moves out. Diaz shouts to Ortega to play to the other side. Stones anticipates that he's likely to get the ball and scans quickly to confirm his space in time. Ortega, however, doesn't feel any pressure to play quickly. He decides to hold the ball. As he looks up, Kai scans back to check what's he looking at and notices that Rodri's in a lot of space. He calls out to Rice to cover him. Rodri's in his pocket of space in zone 5 and with a clear passing lane to him through the gap. He thinks it's going to come to him and so he scans quickly to assess his first touch options. Rice too has seen that Rodri's in space and is coming to close him down. Kai looks around and sees Rice come closer. He now knows that the central area is well covered and that he can jump to press. Rodri stays oriented to the ball and hops sideways to get away from Rice into the space being vacated by Kai. Kovacic also is aware of this space being created as Rice moves out. Rice looks back to check what's happening into the space he vacated and notices Kovacic coming in. He tells Odegaard to cover him. Kai curves his run to block passing options on this side. Rodri hops sideways to peel off from Rice. Kovacic sees that Ortega is in pressure and drops quickly to give option. He was standing blindside of Odegaard and drops so suddenly that Odegaard takes time to react. Now he knows that he'll be pressed from behind, so he plays first touch the way he's facing to the free man in space. Notice how Kovacic timed his actions based on the pressure on Ortega. Had Kovacic moved a bit sooner, Odegaard would have recovered and closed him down. Had he moved a bit later, Kai would have nicked the ball from Ortega. So it's very important that you should time your action. They should be done at just the right moment, neither too soon nor too late. Now notice where Martinelli is positioned. He is the left winger, but since he saw those three move up to press and that City has the ball, he decided to stay back to provide cover in midfield. As the ball's on the way to Stones, he makes a critical scan. Others also scan to assess where's it gonna go next. Stones collects the ball with a hop on a half turn and looks up. Players notice that he is going to take more than one touch. So immediately after the first touch, they all scan. It's almost like an instinct with good players. They try to be always aware of their surroundings. And to do that, they scan in these moments when nothing unexpected is likely to happen with the ball. Walker asks for the ball and he's ready to attack forward with it. Notice his intention from his body profile. But Stones doesn't want to hurry. He has a lot of space ahead and so chooses to carry the ball himself for a while. Martinelli is careful to not rush out too wide this time, perhaps learning from his earlier mistake. He positions himself in a straight line with Stones. Arsenal see that the ball's completely in their control. There's no point in pressing in this situation. They start to drop. Rodri scans back and realizes that his two centre-backs are too far apart and that everybody's moving up. This might be a good time for him to drop between the defenders. He starts to move there. As Kai crosses in front of him, Rodri's in his cover shadow for a very brief moment and he uses it to scan again. Rice realizes that Rodri is getting free. He calls out to Kai to cover him. Stones turns inwards, and Rodri knows that it's coming to him. He scans to assess his space and time quickly, but Stones continues to carry the ball, and as he takes a big touch, Rodri scans again. Stones has noticed that many Arsenal players are in this vertical half of the pitch, and so he decides to switch the ball to that half. This is a thing that teams often do during the build up phase. They keep moving the ball from one side to the other, forcing the opponents to keep shifting from side to side. He plays to Diaz. Diaz makes a critical scan. Kovacic too scans to read what's likely to happen next. Saka also is trying to anticipate where is it going to go next. All players shift to that side. Rodri scans quickly to check how are they organizing themselves there. Saka anticipates it to be played to Akanji. He knows he must cover him, but he must protect the forward passing lane to Grealish too. He starts to move out there, but doesn't commit himself just yet. As Diaz collects the ball, he concludes that he doesn't really have a forward passing option. He begins to turn inwards. Rodri anticipates that the ball's coming his way and scans to assess the pressure on him and his first touch option. Rice, on the other hand, thinks that Diaz is cutting inside to play an overhead ball in behind with his right foot. He scans to read if their forwards are making a move. But City doesn't like to play these kind of hopeful long balls because long balls often make you lose possession cheaply. They will only play long when they see a clear chance to attack. Otherwise, most of the time, they'll just keep the possession till the right option emerges. Diaz passes to Rodri. He makes a critical scan. Kai tries to anticipate where's it going to go next. Other players also use this moment to scan. Martinelli realizes that Walker's in a lot of space here. Rodri collects on back foot with a hop and looks up. He's in space and so can take his time to choose what to do next. Both Rice and Martinelli notice him looking this way and so scan to read what's he looking at. They notice Alvarez dropping into this space. Martinelli moves to cover him. He's a left winger, but at the moment he's playing like a central midfielder because the game demands him to do that. Rodri carries the ball. Rice scans to confirm if Martinelli's got Alvarez covered. Along with Alvarez, Martinelli is also keeping a track of Walker. He scans quickly to keep himself updated of his movement, but Rice is really troubled by Alvarez's unorthodox position. He scans again to check where's he. Rodri is carrying the ball forward and Arsenal are not pressing because they know that he has three easy pass options at his disposal. Their press simply won't work. Now Alvarez comes into frame. He dropped to get into this space, but when he sees that this space got closed, he moves horizontally between the lines to get to that space there. This kind of positioning and movement between the lines can cause real panic among the opponents. If they try to mark you, you'll drag them out of their positions. If they don't mark you, you'll be able to move unchallenged into spaces. Rice senses the danger. He notices the gap and shifts there to cover it. Alvarez continues to move horizontally. Rice realizes that he's getting dragged too far away from his position. Partey senses a movement behind him and sees Alvarez running in. He knows that he must cover it. Meanwhile, Kai's had enough. He feels that Rodri's been given enough space and time and that he's been allowed to move very high up. He must press him now. Over there, White's on high alert because Grealish is right on the touchline and thus is his blind side. It's difficult for him to watch both Grealish and the ball together. If Rodri were to play an overhead ball in behind, Grealish may have a head start over him. Now notice that as Rodri moved up with the ball, Diaz stayed behind intentionally to offer a safe back pass option. Kai is getting closer, so Rodri plays to Kovacic. Odegaard rushes out to press. He doesn't want to let him get comfortable on the ball and choose his passes. White changes his body profile to keep Grealish inside. Saka anticipates that it's going to Akanji, but he doesn't run out just yet, else he will vacate a direct passing lane to Grealish. You can see clearly now how Alvarez positions himself between the lines and Haaland places himself between the two centre-backs. Kovacic passes to Akanji and Saka knows that he can now move up to press. Look at Odegaard's awareness and anticipation in this move. The ball's yet to reach Akanji and he's already seen that he doesn't have any forward passing options. He will have to play backwards and so he's already trying to read where's it going to go. Meanwhile, White anticipates the ball to come to Grealish and moves closer to him. Akanji turns backwards to receive. Odegaard notices it and is sure that he'll play backwards. He runs out to try to intercept. Saka too notices that Akanji's turned backwards and is facing his own goal. That's the trigger to get aggressive on him. Akanji collects the ball and looks up to assess his passing options. He takes his eyes off the ball. That's another trigger for Saka to get even more aggressive. Put him under so much pressure that he'll end up making a mistake. Akanji falls down under pressure from Saka, but still manages to release the ball back to safety. City drops. Arsenal press up. Ball on the way, Kai scans this side to see where is it going to go next. Then he scans that side to read how are they pressing. Rodri starts coming back to this space at the head of this triangle. Diaz receives and looks up. Stones notices him looking his way. He knows he is in no position to receive the ball, so he tells him to play backwards to the goalkeeper instead. Why did Stones think that he is not in the right position to receive the ball? Because he's in the wrong body profile. He's running backwards towards his own goal and can't see what's coming from behind him. Due to this, he'll need more time and space to collect and turn forward, and Kai will be upon him by then. Rodri looks up, trying to read what these two are discussing. Diaz allows Odegaard to come close and then passes to Ortega. Rodri realizes that he's too far behind. He should be here in this moment, so he picks up speed to get there quickly. He notices player movements, Ortega's body profile, and the gap. Concludes that it's coming to him, and so scans quickly to assess how tight is Rice on him. Odegaard curves his run to cover the passing lane on that side, slows down as he gets closer to avoid getting into first-time tackle, and adjusts his position to create confusion in Ortega's mind. However, Ortega stays calm, takes his first touch away from Odegaard and looks up. Rodri scans immediately to see what he's looking at. Stones scans to see the pressure on him from Kai. Kai is steadily increasing the press. Ortega feels that they've sustained the pressure for long enough. He decides to get the ball out of there. Haaland standing with his back to the goal. He attempts to lay off the ball to Alvarez, but Saliba also comes for the challenge, and under his pressure, Haaland spills it. Saka, Partey and Kovacic all run to get to this loose second ball. Saka realizes that Partey is going to reach it first. He attempts to break into a half-moon curve, expecting Partey to play a through ball with his first touch. Over here, Bernardo sees the ball's been lost and that he's standing too far to be of any use in this situation. He starts to move inwards to get compact. Timber notices him and will stay close to him. Kovacic and Grealish come in on Partey quickly but slow down as they approach the ball. They don't want to go into a first-time tackle. Instead, their intention is to put just enough pressure on Partey and don't let him lift his head up. Gabriel falls back to his backline. Partey feels the heat and passes backwards to White, and immediately moves wide to give an option into that space. White is already looking for forward options as the ball's traveling towards him. Grealish knows that he is the nearest man and must move up to press. Saliba anticipates that White will play to him, so he scans quickly to assess his space in time. Gabriel notices that Timber has moved up with Bernardo and that now he's too high. He drops to get in his line. Grealish curves his run to block passing lane to Partey on that side. White's unable to find a forward option quickly enough, and so he turns inwards to use his safe back pass option. Gabriel too is telling him to play backwards. White plays back, and immediately Arsenal's backline starts spreading out, so that Ramsdale will have his passing options ready by the time the ball reaches him. As the ball's on the way, Gabriel scans. Grealish slows down, thinking if he should press up or cover passing lanes in midfield. Noticing that the ball's securely with Arsenal now, he concludes that it's better for him to stay put. Alvarez sees that Gabriel is likely to receive the ball in a lot of space and runs up to close him down. Ramsdale has enough space and time to calmly collect the ball. Haaland curves his run to block the passing lane to that side. Notice how Gabriel ran chest forward when he needed to run fast. And now that he's almost in possession, he orients his body to the ball and hops sideways. Rice knows that in a situation like this, he ought to be in this space and is running to get there. Ramsdale's been looking for forward options but is unable to find any. As Haaland comes close, he plays to Gabriel. Ball on the way, Rice scans. Immediately after passing, Ramsdale drops quickly to provide a safe back pass option to Gabriel. Alvarez can see that Gabriel's in too much space and comes to press him. Rice keeps moving and positioning himself in gaps. Gabriel notices the gap but also sees it getting close by Haaland and Alvarez. Rice is wondering where's Timber. He should have been here in this moment, but he's been dragged up by Bernardo. Notice the way Ramsdale changes his body profile to stay oriented to the ball. Gabriel can't find a forward option. He turns back and plays a safe back pass and immediately moves wide to give option. Saliba drops to give option on that side. Haaland notices Saliba and moves to block the passing lane to him. Rice keeps positioning himself in spaces and gaps. Rodri notices the space and the gap. He concludes that it's coming to him and so presses on. Now Gabriel's pass to Ramsdale is rather poor. Ramsdale is right-footed, but the pass is to his left. However, he is in enough space to collect, recover and look up without any real danger. Alvarez scans quickly. Ramsdale sets the ball and looks up. He can't find a clear forward option, so he gets ready to play long and get it out of pressure. Rice looks up to see where's it going to go. Saliba and Gabriel realize that Ramsdale is hitting long. They start moving up to push up the back line. Players rush to get compact on the ball in midfield. Kai is preparing to receive. But Stones comes to challenge him for the ball, and it's because of his pressure that Kai hasn't been able to spot Saka and Odegaard's position. Walker and Bernardo come in, expecting to get the second ball. Kai flicks the ball backwards and then looks to Saka, perhaps to say, "Why didn't you run in behind?" Now you see, this is a great example of why you should always challenge for a 50-50 ball and not give space and time to your opponents to find their options. It was Stones' challenge that created this confusion between them. Now as Diaz is running towards the ball, what might be going through his head? I guess he must be on high alert right now, because he knows that Kais flicked the ball expecting somebody to run in behind. He also knows that he's turned backwards and can't see if somebody's onto him or not. He can also see that the ball's a bouncy one, and bouncy balls are always difficult to control. As the last defender, he has to prioritize safety, and so he looks up and plays to his goalkeeper with first touch. Ball on the way means times to scan. Diaz scans to assess the pressure from behind. Walker scans to assess Ortega's options on this side. Stones, who's in a CDM position at the moment, scans to assess his space in time. Kai scans to assess Ortega's options on this side. Odegaard scanning to check the options on that side. And Timber scans back to check his team's defensive structure. So, you see, a football pitch is immense. You need to know where to position yourself. And to position yourself correctly, you have to scan and read what's happening around you. And the right moment to scan is the moment when you know that the ball's on a predictable route and nothing new is expected to happen. Now back to where we were. Bernardo realizes that the ball's with them now. He starts to move back to his position to make the field wide again. Kai scans again. Walker tells Ortega to take it easy as he has time on the ball. Diaz too is telling Ortega to hold it as he scans back. Ortega collects and thinks about playing quickly to Walker because he's in a lot of space, but then decides against it because Walker's not in the right body profile. Martinelli saw Ortega's intention and is ready to run up to press him. Stones has stayed back in the CDM position, but realizes his mistake that his positioning is causing Walker to drop too deep. So he starts to move back to his position and Rodri starts to come back to his. Ortega plays the ball to Diaz. Kai scans to check where's it going next. Saka thinks it's going to come there and scans to check where's Akanji. Now pay attention to what Kovacic does. While the ball's on the way, he looks towards his left back to assess if he's a playing option, but sees that he's tightly marked. Then, while the ball's still traveling, he looks towards his left wing. As Diaz receives the ball, he looks at him to assess what he's planning to do and notices that he's in no hurry to play. So he scans this side and reads that Rodri's a little too higher up from where he should be. He decides that he must become the CDM for now and moves to get there into that space at the head of that triangle. Now notice the way he moves, slowly at first so as not to alert the opponents. Then as he is about to get to the position, he scans, hops sideways, takes quick steps, reorients his body, receives on back foot, turns and looks up. Wow, I mean Odegaard was right there, but could barely do anything about it. He also sees that there's no sense in pressing Kovacic, cause he's got the ball under full control with easy pass options on three sides. Kovacic moves left, then turns right and looks up. Kai scans to check what's he looking at. Kovacic's under no pressure. He sees space ahead and decides to carry the ball. Rodri understands that he's not getting the ball in this position. He looks around to find where's space. It's there. Martinelli takes a quick look inside and then scans outside to keep himself aware of Walker's position. Rodri starts moving horizontally to get into that space. And as we've seen earlier also with Alvarez, these horizontal movements can create panic in opponents. Should they follow you because you're getting free, or should they stay to protect the forward passing lanes? Rice follows him for a little while. Kai comes close, but Kovacic beats him with a change of pace and direction. Rice notices that he's emerging free with the ball. He stops tracking Rodri and moves to close him down. Kai and Odegaard run back with Kovacic. And that's how it should be. You must always run back with the dribbler. This way, you'll keep up the pressure on him. Also, he's bound to lose the ball sooner or later, and you'll be there to get it then. But then this is exactly what Kovacic also wants. He's dribbling to attract opponents onto him, and as they jump to press, he'll release it to the free man. But Arsenal's been very disciplined with that. Kovacic realizes that his space is getting closed and he has no forward option. He pulls a Cruyff turn, escapes the pressure and plays it to Diaz. Odegaard doesn't want to give Diaz so much space on the ball. He presses on. Now, this is a good moment to understand some basic defensive and attacking principles. When defending, stay compact. Notice how compact Arsenal are. They're not allowing any space in midfield to play through them. Let City keep passing backwards or sideways, no problem. And the other principles that when attacking, make the field wide. See how wide City are. Bernardo isn't even in the frame. Staying wide stretches the opponents, making them vacate passing lanes through midfield. Now notice how Odegaard runs up to press. He charges fast, then slows down and adjusts his direction to create indecision in Diaz's mind. Diaz feels the pressure and plays quickly to Akanji. And this is what Saka's been waiting for. He rushes out to press. Immediately after playing to Akanji, Diaz drops to provide a safe back pass option. Ball on the way, Rodri scans and notices that Saka's jumping up, leaving that space behind him. He starts moving there to give an option. Grealish too is dropping into that space to give option on the sideline. Haaland, on the other hand, seems just too eager to get in behind. But there's no reason he should be doing that. City doesn't like to boot hopeful balls forward as we've discussed. Besides, Akanji is not even in a position to play this ball because Saka's in the way. That was wrong judgment by Haaland. Saka curves his run, adjusts his direction and presses on. Akanji doesn't have any clear forward option. He doesn't want to lose possession with a poor forward pass. So he starts turning inwards to use the safe back pass option. Odegaard's alert to it. He sees him turning backwards and knows immediately that he's going to use the safe back pass option. He starts rushing up to press. While the ball's on the way, Kai scans to see where is it going to go next. Rice sees Kovacic in CDM position and rushes up to not allow him time and space to turn and play. Kovacic has seen Kai move out. He's eyeing to get into this space that Kai is leaving behind. Diaz looks up, sees Kovacic drop and the gap to play to him. He also sees Odegaard coming to press him. So he intentionally holds the ball to let Odegaard come closer and then, just at the last moment, passes to Kovacic and immediately moves opposite to Odegaard's momentum to play a 1-2. Rice sees his opportunity to win the ball with a blindside tackle. He charges on and lunges to try to get to it. But Kovacic is able to make a pass to Diaz. Odegaard recovers and presses on. Oh man, he's like a pressing machine. Saka feels that Kovacic's pass to Diaz is rather slow. He thinks he can intercept it. He jumps. Rodri notices Diaz coming under pressure from two sides. He comes into this gap to give him an option. But I'm not sure what Partey is thinking at the moment. Why did he not notice Rodri's movement and close him down? Perhaps he was just caught ball watching? Or perhaps he realized that 4 Arsenal players have already moved very high and so he did not want to jump, else entire midfield will be vacated. Rodri comes under pressure from Odegaard and plays first touch to Akanji, who's in space. And it's because Saka had jumped earlier that Akanji is in space now. This time, Haaland makes the right decision to drop into space and participate in the build-up. Immediately after playing to Akanji, Rodri moves opposite to Odegaard's momentum, signaling Akanji to play a 1-2. Odegaard sees that the pass is bouncy and he's closest to the ball. That's the trigger to press. He charges on. Akanji takes his first touch away from Odegaard's press. He can't see any options, but there is space ahead. He decides to make it a running duel and challenge Odegaard to see who can run faster. Well, he isn't just faster, but stronger too. He also uses his arm to hold Odegaard back. Grealish is hopping sideways, keeping his body open, waiting for the ball to be played to him. White's alert to this and stays close. Odegaard knows that he's losing his duel. He pulls on Akanji's arm from behind. All the players are moving to stay together, and Akanji trips. Now look, Akanji is not even falling to the ground, but how quickly Grealish starts appealing to the referee, and the rest of them all join immediately thereafter. Referee blows his whistle, but Grealish keeps up the pressure. Akanji gets up and looks at the ref as if asking, why wasn't this a card? And now the question is, why did Odegaard pull his arm? Well, you see, one of the things that players are judged on is how well did they perform in duels. A good player knows that he can't lose his duel. Odegaard sensed that he was losing his and so tried to harass him to gain some advantage over him. But unfortunately, he ended up tripping him. However, the net result of this action is clearly that City gets a confidence boost. Notice the triumphant expression on Akanji's face and the downward look of a culprit on Odegaard's. A better option for Odegaard would have been to continue to run with Akanji and keep up the press. But perhaps he was a little tired because of all the running that he'd been doing in the last few minutes. Who knows? So, that's the end of part 1. I hope you found it interesting. See you in part 2.